I just seen Gran Turismo, a movie I was initially dreading due to the advertisements of this film making it look awful. However, I'm happy to say that this film is just plain average. Really surprising for this to be a true story, but seeing it in execution makes a lot of sense. Even in hindsight, it is a little stupid. Most of the acting in this movie is pretty good. Everyone here does their best at what they're given with, which is commendable because the script is awful. There's so many lines that made me want to tear my fucking ears off.
If you miss a line in the game, you reset. You miss it on the track, you could die.
In fairness, these were the lines in the trailer that put me off the movie, so I knew what I was getting into. The sound design in this is excellent. You can really feel the power of these race cars. It really helps convey in this sense of adrenaline. The editing ranges from okay to borderline bad. Lots of really jarring cuts that don't make a hell of a lot of sense. Whenever they would do a third-person view of the cars to make it simulate the games, it was just laughable and corny. Not in a good way either. I always cringe when I seen them doing it. There's constant barrages of that stupid big text telling the audience where we are, what location we're in, even though a character will say where they are going seconds before it happens. I am so fucking sick of this trend in movies. It's genuinely the worst thing ever. If you show iconic locations of a country, general audiences will know where the fuck they are. Stop thinking we're all fucking stupid, Hollywood. The soundtrack is mostly really good too. I enjoyed a lot of the licensed music here, which is, you know, surprising. But yeah, it had some pretty great music. I don't know if it initially fit at some stages, but in fairness, some of the music went with a lot of these characters' actual taste in music to correlate, so I guess it makes sense. Despite some of these positives, I think what brings this movie down for me that's so unforgiving is the fact that it's literally just a 2-hour ad. The first minute of this thing actually felt like a promo for a possible new Gran Turismo game release. Obviously a massive ad for PlayStation since they now, I guess, have a production studio, and yeah, the movie's made by Sony, so there's that too. It's weird because I swear there's a moment in this movie where they show a PS5 controller, but upon doing research, this whole competition, the whole event of this movie actually happens in like the early 2010s. It was really bizarre. The story in terms of a movie format is generic as hell and predictable as shit. Someone in my crowd was actually shocked that Jann, our main character, won the big race at the end. Like, are you fucking serious? You thought a movie like this was gonna subvert your expectations? What I think would have made this movie more interesting is giving these quote-unquote antagonists of the movie some depth, because they've none at all. There's these two rival racers that are like in professional racing. Obviously, they hate Jann for the only reason that he's a gamer, trying to, I guess, upstage other racers. Okay, how about instead of having them make remarks and glaring at him, let's hear their side. Let's delve into their psyche and how they're feeling about this. You know, some of these guys could have been racing for years and all of a sudden this new kid comes along who basically spends hours of a day of his time in his bedroom and suddenly he's a big shot. Like, yeah, that's a pretty good and justified reason to be pissed off. You could have had a really emotional scene of these racers breaking down because of it, but no, they're just bad because bad guy. At one stage, the whole narrative gets questionable when Orlando Bloom's character, yeah, I haven't seen him in a while, is now hesitant about Jann being a racer because he doesn't have as much charisma as other people. Like, really? Your whole thing is showing that a gamer is capable of racing in real races because Gran Turismo is supposedly this really great racing simulator. If anything, the fact that Jann is this awkward fuck, it'll be hella relatable to these fat hermit crabs living in their mother's basement playing video games. The only thing some gamers couldn't relate to is the fact that he doesn't look like a fucking whale. Overall, this film wasn't half as bad as I thought it was gonna be, but it's still nothing special at all, and could end up being forgettable to some people, especially me. However, there are some really good moments. There's this nice emotional scene between Jann and David Harbour's character, kind of near this big emotional scene. However, kind of before this moment, when this emotional scene happens, the editing of it, like, genuinely, this is me going back to the editing, it makes it look like a fucking trailer in the most distracting way possible. It's so weird. But I mean, look, if history has taught us anything, video game movies can be way worse. I'm giving Gran Turismo 2.5 stars, a painfully predictable and generic sports film that does, to its credit, show some really great and engaging scenes on the racetrack, but really falters on a lot of other aspects.